got finished with the Coastal Compass podcast, and I want to talk to you because my new channel, Firewatch Business, is about side hustles and getting your business going. And one of the things that I'm doing is video editing and trying to do some advertising stuff for people. Yeah. And I wanted to get you on because you have a side hustle.
I do.
Tell us what that side hustle is.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I have vending machines that dispense nothing but premium beef jerky products. Well, I say beef, chicken, turkey, and bacon products. They're all located at the Keesler Air Force Base. So it's just this captured audience of nothing but airmen trying to figure out how they're going to spend their dollars, and that's what they spend their money on.
And how many units do you have?
At the moment, I have 5 units. I've got a couple more that I'm going to be adding this year.
At the Air Force Base.
At the Air Force Base. Strategically placed in their dorm rooms or dorm, HQ, barracks, barracks, and then I've got one placed in one of the schoolhouses.
And what got you into it?
Buddy of mine. He started a jerky company where he was, reselling wholesale jerky. He started at the mall in Biloxi. Had a couple of kiosks out in the middle of the mall, selling jerky, selling hot sauces, and then the Air Force Base came to him and said, "Hey, we have an opening in our BX, in our, in their mall, and we'd love to get you in there." So he looked into it, opened up a second location. That was doing really well. He was kind of strapped between the two, so he shipped it over to just having the one at the base, shut down the other operation. But then he noticed that he just was having difficulty, getting some of the airmen to come into his store, at all times of the day. So he thought, okay, well, how do I get to them? Where they don't have to come to me, how do I get to them? So he bought a vending machine, tested it out. Vending, went really well with the products, the functionality of it. And he went to the base and said, "Hey, I'd like to put one of these out and see how it does." Did really well. So much so that the store became kind of like a warehouse, and he was just selling everything from the vending machines. He placed several out on base, and then he ended up shutting down the store because he was like, I just can't continue to pay that rent for storage. He got into the real estate business, got busy with that side of life. And one day he was just saying how he needed to go to the base and fill out the machines, but just didn't have time, and this and the other. And I said, "Well, I'll help you out. Just tell me when I can go, and, let's make it happen." And he said, "Well, what do you want for it?" And I was like, "Dude, you're my friend. Like, I'll just do it, And he's like, "No, let's work something out." And so anyhow, he had some other machines that were in storage, needed to be like set to sell. And he's like, "How about I sell those to you? And you start kind of your own gig with that. We'll put them at the base in other locations. Whenever it's time to fill the machines, like you go one time, I go the other time, and we'll just, split the labor, travel, and all that kind of stuff, I said, "Yeah, let's do that." Got the 2 machines out. They were doing really good. One day I just told him, "Hey, give me a valuation. I'm going to buy you out. Let me get the rest of it." And he was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, really. Let's go." I ended up with having 6 machines. I had to take one out. That's how I got down to 5. I'm actually looking for a replacement for that one in another
on the Air Force Base. Are you looking to expand off the Air Force Base, or is that something that's not really where you want to go?
I've thought about it. Frankly, I've got so much potential with the Air Force Base right now. Branching out of there just to go somewhere else would just be too time-consuming and costly. So right now I'm just looking to grow that in that location and then kind of go from there. It might be something that, I take and just kind of like flip it, take a business that I bought and then sell it after I've, done all the things that I've done, because I had a tremendous year last year. I was like 180% over my previous year's sales. Yeah. Got a new line of jerky in, and it's been doing really great.
So what is your margin to the bottom line usually?
I'm looking at probably about a 42% margin.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's your gross margin, Or is that a bottom line?
That's net. Yeah. So after I've
great.
paid my commissions, after I bought my product, after cost of goods, after I've paid my fees to the credit card processing company, all that, I'm looking at about a 42% margin.
That is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're still filling them up yourself?
And I mean it's just a wonderful little side hustle because I go fill the machines up once a month. I pay my commissions. I go to Biloxi. I spend a few hours there as a little mini vacation, and then come back home. So it's really no sweat off my back. It's the closest thing to passive income that you can get to while still kind of working the business.
Right. Because a lot of passive income really isn't that passive.
No, exactly. So I mean, you got a lot of folks that they have to work on the business. If they're not in the business, they don't make any money. And
right.
Technically that's where I am. But in this scenario, it's one of those where I'm only having to really work it once a month, and then I'm done. Everything else it's money comes into my account every single week. And I tell people I've always been entrepreneurially driven. I've had a couple of different things that I've done. You DJ, I used to DJ, saw a need and jumped on it. You saw a need, you jumped on it. I've always had something going on, right? I never in my wildest dreams thought like I would be selling jerky out of a vending machine, right? So a lot of people like have this drive to do something for themselves, do something on their own. And a lot of them have like these visions of grandeur because they're like, this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to have my own restaurant one day, And they say, but when then you ask them, well, why don't you? Well, I don't have any capital. What are you doing to get to that? What are you doing to get that capital? Sometimes you have to do things to kind of get your feet wet. Learn, about owning a business. Learn about, getting a business license. Learn about so many people jump into the flames right away, and then a few months later they're just like engulfed in it, right?
Yeah.
So do a little something small, something that doesn't take so much, but gives you a little bit of a taste of what it is to own a business, to have to get that business license, to have to deal with a processing company for your credit card fees, to deal with, having to maybe manage inventory because you've got, goods that you're buying. I had a buddy of mine that was kind of impressed about the fact that I had started this little venture when it first happened. And he said, man, I would love to do something like that. And I knew he and his wife, they like to go out and do yard selling and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, you can do this. You can have your own side thing. You know how many people go out there and go to garage sales and yard sales and buy stuff and flip it?
A ton.
A ton of them. You can start your own thing. You can start a way to build that capital so that when you have it, you actually can realize that dream.
And I think people miss the opportunity too, that you got to build that capital so that when that big thing comes, you're able to jump in there and not have to worry about losing your shirt at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And
what's the biggest thing you've learned from this, you think?
Time management, a lot of time management. Yeah. Because at first it wasn't me going once a month. It's me hustling it, almost every week, having to go out there. And I say time management, ultimately it became that. But it was really just, learning to think outside the box, being susceptible to changes needed. And I have to figure out what that change is. Being able to identify, for example, switching over to that new line of jerky. That was a game changer for me. And sure, when I acquired the business, I already had an established, distributor, and they were providing me the jerky and this and that and the other, but it wasn't selling, like I needed it to. So I had to shift. I had to make some phone calls. I had to contact another distributor. I had to do some research and get myself out of that hole, that rut. Once I asked the questions and did what I needed to do, I made myself susceptible to that change, and I changed it. I mean, it's just been the greatest thing that's ever happened. So that led to me learning that all of these things was just preparing myself to really manage those things so that ultimately I could manage the time that I was spending in the business and really turn it into what it's become today, where I could, if I wanted to, sell it to somebody and say, look, this is something that you could pick up where I left off, and, I've made it better for you. All you got to do is just work it once a month, Depends on how much money you want to bring in, but you could work it once a month and still have a good cash flow coming in.
I appreciate your time. Yeah. I know that we're running late. We got another guest for the Coastal Compass one, too.
No, man, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
I appreciate it. And come back and let's do another one for Firewatch Business because it's just what you said, time management things. I think a lot of people who are trying to start a side hustle don't know where to start.
Right.
And I think that your first thing is that, you're going to start a side hustle. Mm-hmm. And if you're starting from scratch or whether you're buying something else, it's going to be the most time consuming and stressful thing you're going to do for a while. Yeah. Until you get it to where your systems are in place.
I say if the best place to start is at the starting line.
Right? Good. That's true.
But you got to get to that starting line. Mm-hmm. Start at that starting line. Do something. Start something. So what if you fail?
Well, you're not going to learn if you don't.
You're not going to learn.
Right. And that's absolutely true.
The only guarantee that you have if you don't do anything is that you'll never get it. But if you do start it and if you fail, that was 50-50 shot,
Absolutely.
What if you succeed?
Right.
So start at the starting line.
Gabriel, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. And we'll see you.
All right.
Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next time.